Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Pauly Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. It is Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. This show is brought to you by DraftKings. Big 3-hour program lined up with a recap of what took place last night. College basketball, the national title game. We turn our attention to the Masters now as that begins on Thursday. Final week of the NBA as well, and great guests spread throughout this show today. And as Dan Hurley said in the postgame with Ernie Johnson after it was all over with, we run this up in here. Yeah. You have, you did, and you currently do. This run now for 25 years, and he is cocky. He's abrasive. If you don't like UConn, he is completely unlikable. Very brash. Doesn't care, though. And he can have that attitude when you're taking names, kicking ass and taking names like they have now for 2 consecutive years. And to put the, the finishing touches on another tournament like that, Pauly, it doesn't matter. Purdue was the second or third best team all year long. They were close at halftime. And then after that, it was forget it. We'll see you later. Bye. Yeah. That was fun while it lasted.
They remind me of Floyd Mayweather, where they just take their time the first couple rounds, see what the opponent's game plan's going to be, and then they go to work on you and take you out and no problem, right? And it's just precision, and it's a no contest what it ends up being at the end. The other thing is you have to legitimately hate yourself if you weren't a part of this run, because I like to play streaks, but they made it boring and they covered every game and they weren't challenged in any game for 2 years. It's like, what are you doing? What a time to have the rollover parlay or just say, like you said yesterday, you analyze the game for 30 seconds. If that, you take UConn.
Sure.
Because they win, 15, 14, 25, 30, 17, and 31. And then last year it was 17, 13, 28, 23, 15, and 24.
So basically, if you just, and nobody would have done this, but if you did, that's a 12-team parlay that is now cashed for you on the rollover side. But I think also you could notice it early last year in the tournament, because they were so dominant to begin the season. They fell off and they came back as a 4 seed, but they were taking teams out right away last year in the tournament. And this year it's the same exact thing. I mean, what was their biggest challenge? It has to be Alabama, because the game is still tied with 12 minutes to play.
Yeah.
And that's when they eventually pulled away.
Well, how about this? 38 of their last 39 games, not against Big East teams, they've won by double digits. Maybe Patino's hating life today. I mean, St. John's gave them 2 good games.
All right.
The only time they won in single digits was when they were playing down the stretch was Big East teams, and what also happened in the Big East tournament in the semis when St. John's lost by 5. Yeah, but I would say, Alabama. How about the fact that Purdue hits 1-3?
They only took 7.
Now, come on. They're top 5 in three-pointers. They attempted 7. They dominated the perimeter. This coaching. And you look at the team.
It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Here's why. The guards for UConn and the perimeter defense was too good. They had no chance of getting shots off last night.
Yeah.
And that was the game plan. It was clinging down low. They entered that game saying, you're going to go up against Zach Edey. If he gets his, fine, so be it. We'll adjust if we need to a little bit during the game. But our guards are too good, and we are not going to let Purdue get shots off. Forget about making threes. You're not going to take any threes. That was the second by like a percentage point. They were the second best three-point shooting team in the country entering the game last night, a full season, right? They had 2-3 attempts at halftime.
I know.
Where's the weakness on this team?
Oh, I thought they were in trouble at halftime. I mean, you have 30 points and Edey has 16 of them, so no one else was involved. And then, of course, they just do what they do best, which is blitz teams in the second half. But you look at it, and it's not like Kentucky, where it's all these NBA players, and they can't even get past St. Peter's and Oakland. I mean, there's some guys that'll play professionally and in the NBA, but nothing jumps out when you. It's like, oh my God, they're so. Oh, look at Klingon, look at this, and they also were 6 of 22 from 3, so they're not great from 3, but they still body bag you every game. It's nuts.
I guess that would be the one weakness at this point, right? Because they had a handful of games where they did not shoot well, like they were not a reliable team from deep in the tournament. That's the one thing I can point at and say, yeah, maybe a weakness.
Yeah.
Where else did they have a weakness? I don't see one. The passing, the sharing of the basketball, the cutting that they have on offense, recognizing a teammate that's going to be open. It's beautiful basketball.
Our friends in Nesson can help us too. And you got the first Red Sox game at home today. But, Jack McGuire had a good tweet. Like how this happened. Storrs, Connecticut is in the middle of nowhere, and it's cold 80% of the time. And you go back, men's and women, what is it, like 17 titles since 1991. How did that happen? Like, how are they able to do this where Calhoun, Pauly, Hurley, and what REM has done?
Great question.
And what it's done for the university in that area. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere.
It is.
And you know, why would you want to go there?
Right.
Nothing to do in the weather, and it's all, well, this is a powerhouse, and we've dominated basketball.
That's exactly right. And the Calhoun era is a long time ago at this point.
Yeah. More titles than Coach K. And also the Big East. That's 9 titles since 1999. That's also, Seton Hall won the NIT. Everyone's laughing at the committee. This league only got 3 teams in.
Right.
You know, the Big East continues to do well with what Villanova was able to do. Louisville got it with Patino, whenever that was, and then what Calhoun did and Ollie. So it's...
You will get some feedback from other fan bases because they love their programs and they're very loyal and passionate. You're going to get feedback from probably Kansas fans, Duke fans, and I can't think of any other fan bases right now. Maybe North Carolina, but they're all wrong. Like, the best program in college basketball for the last quarter century, if not more, has been Connecticut. You can't ignore that. There's no way you can even debate it at this point.
Right.
Over and over and over with different coaches. Last night's team, I don't know how numbers-wise now, when you go to Ken Palm anyway, this team is, and I know Gonzaga never won it, but their power rating is right there with that one-loss Gonzaga team. They're there with the 2015 Kentucky team. They're there with that 2008 Kansas team that won it all.
I'm with Youmans. I don't think anyone can touch 90, 91 UNLV.
I would say some of the teams from the 90s would beat this team.
The Kentucky team you love?
The Kentucky team, the UNLV team.
Well, the UNLV team that didn't win it, I mean, you had...
Oh, they were better, yeah.
Yeah, 4 guys went in the first round of the draft. And then, but just imagine a Duke game where officials got involved.
Well, here, this is mind-boggling. Brian Ives with maybe the tweet of the night.
Yes.
UConn has missed 32% of the NCAA tournaments played since 1999. They've also won 24% of the tournaments in that same time. Are you serious?
Yeah. So you asked me a month ago, is he going to give this rolling and nothing's going to be able to stop this guy? Because he doesn't need absurd talent. So now his comments after the game about, ask my wife, I'm happy. We got a lot. I want to defend the title here. So, I mean, Kentucky would have to throw so much money at him. But if he stays, he's just so good. I mean, it's not fair how well he's done that you don't have all this NBA talent and the guy blows every opponent out. And like he said, this is hard to do, and we're making it look easy.
Yeah.
So that's a part of the last 2 years. I'm like, well, they're not going to do this. They're not going to beat everybody by double digits, and then they did.
Well, and by the way, so they're going to lose some guys off this team. I'm guessing Castle will probably go to the NBA. It's considered one of, if not the weakest drafts by a lot of people, maybe ever. Mm-hmm. So a guy like Castle, why can't he go top 5 all of a sudden, or whatever number that might be? But he can't dominate in the transfer portal?
Oh, why wouldn't he?
Who would not want to go play for him?
Right, with that personality.
He's an axe murderer on the sidelines.
Sure.
You're going to have to deal with that.
Yeah.
Again, he's extremely unlikable if you don't root for UConn. He's all over the place. He's yelling, he's screaming the entire time. He's out there pushing players. He's emphatic with everything that he does.
Coming on the court.
He's going to be, people are going to hate him.
I know, but you said it after the Stetson game. But he was livid at halftime of the Stetson game.
Oh, yeah, and they're killing him by 100.
They're blowing them out. It's not championship basketball. I hate how we close, right? I don't like it. Sure.
Yeah.
How about what Edey did, though? Now, if there was ever a case to be made for a guy on a losing team, but most outstanding player, I mean, what he did down the stretch and with a 40 and 20, and then what he did last night, I mean, Edey was just so good. But you could also look at this. It's kind of like those great Yankee teams. Like, if you win 112 games, how do you have an MVP? Mm-hmm. That team is so good. I think it's hard to look at it and say, well, that guy sticks out. He should be the MVP.
It was a very tough call last night. Newton won it. He had 5 points against Illinois. I thought my bet on Klingon before the game at plus 190 still had a pretty good chance to win that thing because he was so good overall. Again, this is not a one-game award. It's for the entire tournament. But if ever we were going to have a player, again, on the losing team win it, it would have been Zach Edey. I mean, if you're honest about this, right, and you can remove the thought that the winning team has to have the MOP, just get that idea out of your brain for a second to have the conversation. I think most people would realize that Zach Edey deserved to win the award. Mm-hmm. I mean, he did not get much help from anybody else last night. He was the go-to guy the entire time. He had 37, put him on his shoulders one more time. And I will point this out. So Greg Doyle was there covering Purdue. He's a columnist in Indianapolis. He tweeted out his vote, and he also said that Edey at the time had 33 points and 10 rebounds. And he said another typical game for him should be the MOP of the tournament, win or lose, with a photo of his all-tournament vote. It was submitted, but Tristan Newton was number 1, then Zach Edey number 2. So that makes me think that based on him saying Edey should win, but he was only number 2, I don't think you're allowed to vote a losing player to win the award. Because here you have a voter saying he should win, but he's number 2 on his ballot because he can't put him any higher. Now, is that fair?
Yeah, I'm with you. We have to get rid of this thought process and mindset. It goes back to when the Cavs lost to the Warriors.
Oh, sure.
It was all LeBron James. That's the only reason the series was close.
100%, Paul.
The numbers that he put up.
Right.
So we have to stop with that.
Right. We've been trained to think that it automatically has to come off of a winning team. No, it doesn't. Why? Because you've been told so for so many years? BS. Challenge that. Doesn't have to be the case. Anybody watching the tournament from start to finish knows that Zach Edey was the most outstanding player of the tournament. Can't win the award. There is a lot at stake tonight and this week in the NBA. Every win total but 2 has been decided, and this team can get the 2 seed or, think about this, be in the play-in tournament. Details on that coming up next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Limited time offering 2 weeks of our exclusive betting splits for free. Just sign up, vsin.com/splits. It's updated with DraftKings odds every 5 minutes. Find out where the public's betting based on the number of tickets and where the money doesn't match the public opinion. Limited time offer. Take advantage, vsin.com/splits.
I don't think Hurley's going to go to Kentucky, but you still have to make the biggest offer you can possibly handle to him.
Well, it begs the question, even if that Godfather offer comes in, if the highest paid guy makes like 9, he's got to be 14.
Oh, easy.
I mean, he just went back to back and never in doubt.
I would start around that range.
Yeah.
And when he says no, I would say, okay, then what's it going to take?
Yeah.
We can go to 17, 18, 20 million.
Come on. If your buyout was going to be $33 million for a guy who can't even win a game in the tournament,
right, we'll
find out how much you really care about basketball and how nuts your fan base is.
No doubt. So, no NBA last night. But to tie in both sports here now, we have had chalk now. South Carolina women, UConn men.
That's right.
So it's the final week to get ready for the NBA playoffs. I do have some parlays tied into the Celtics and the Nuggets winning their respective conferences here. That involves South Carolina and UConn. So we're going to see how this is going to go. The Celtics game tonight in Milwaukee against the Bucks. The Bucks are trending. I mean, you want to talk about running bad. This is like the worst run. I'm not even exaggerating. When was the last time this happened? Where they lost?
30 years.
30 years. 3 consecutive games they were favored by 10 plus. They lost, and then they lost to the Knicks on top of that. So the Bucks are minus 145 to win the Central. Cavs plus 115. It goes tonight against the Celtics, then Orlando, then at OKC, then Orlando again.
They could lose out.
They absolutely could.
And Orlando can get the 2. They've lost 6 of 7. Doc has called them out. He said, we're not professional on the road. You mentioned how embarrassing it was that they lose those 3 games in a row, and then the Knicks pounded them. You know, these are at home, too, some of these games. To me, you cannot bet this game pre-flop. Everything you do with this game has to be in play. Because how does Missoula treat this? You go back to what happened, and when we did the show from Scottsdale Saturday, we briefly touched on it. Friday, the Celtics had an 18-point lead with 9 minutes left. He pulled everybody. The Kings came all the way back and took the lead. But then Tillman hit a floater with 7 seconds left, and the Celtics won by 1. So this might be a game where Boston has a comfortable lead, but then it's like, okay, that's it. We're going to put and the bench might be so good where they sustain it and keep it up because Milwaukee's defense is so bad. You know, during this, too, Milwaukee's had guys in and out of the lineup, which, I can't believe. Because it's like, as I keep saying, get your spot locked up and then, sit people. But Middleton's came out of a game. Middleton missed some time. Lillard missed some time. Freak missed a couple games. But for Boston to be laying 2 here with how bad Milwaukee's playing, it's priced in where, they're so talented, but these guys might only play 3 quarters.
Here's the best example I can come up with right now, top of my head. Well, why this game and all these games are important for the Bucks. Because what if they drop to the 6 and the Knicks get the 3? So then the Knicks are going to have home court against Milwaukee in a 3-6 series. That is not going to go well for Milwaukee. The Bucks are one and done. They're not beating the Knicks in a series.
Well, everyone wants to play Milwaukee now. Like, no one's afraid of the current 2 seed. So maybe there could be shenanigans down the stretch where I wouldn't mind seeing these guys or Orlando. But suddenly this is wide open. And what you were talking about, the Knicks can get the 2. The Knicks can be the 8.
That's absolutely
nuts.
There's
4 games left.
Crazy.
Orlando can get the 2. Orlando can be in the play-in. They're all bunched up, and a lot of these teams still play one another. And the Knicks play Boston coming up. So, how Boston treats this down the stretch. And, it's right there for Orlando. And not to mention the division, which they were minus 3,000 2 weeks ago, Milwaukee, to win the division. Now it's $1.40 as they've lost 6 or 7. Now they're still a couple games up on the Cavs, but the Cavs have 3 games left all at home, and they could win all those games, while Milwaukee could lose all these, and then you're really getting in the weeds about tiebreakers and 3-way ties and all this stuff is madness.
I will say, and watching the Bucks again this past week against really bad teams, and I've made the comment how they're just not a good basketball team. If you've watched them play, you really have to be concerned at this point of the year about the roster construction overall. Like, Lopez has clearly lost a step. I thought last year was maybe a career year, and I question whether or not he could actually come close to playing like that this year again for a full season. He can't, and he hasn't. Also, Damian Lillard has not been the Lillard that we saw in Portland pretty much for the entire year, and it hasn't gone well. And when you watch the Celtics play, and they're without a couple of guys, Paul, to your point about their depth, Pritchard might have 21 and 12 assists, or Hauser. I know he was awful in that Kings game. What was he, 1 of 18, I think, from the floor? But he might go for 25 with 7 threes. The Celtics have a ton of guys who can step up when Derek White gets a night off, or Brown sits, or Tatum might be out. You can rely on some. I don't know where that's coming from with Milwaukee, and I don't think they have that. They don't have Bobby Portis is really nice, but he's one of their core guys at this point. And when you look, how big of an upset truly, forget the odds for a second, is it if Boston doesn't come out of the East? They have a 15-game lead in the Eastern Conference.
Yep. That's also maybe why Philadelphia and Miami aren't that worried about if they're the 7. Because if they get Orlando or Milwaukee. The other thing is the players look terrible. You were 30-13 and you wanted the coach fired. Yep. You're 2 games under 500 now with Doc Rivers.
Good point.
They looked terrible with what happened. So, by the way, Orlando wins a tiebreaker over the Knicks. So everyone's in action tonight. This is great. Mm-hmm. What else do you think?
Well, okay, so
unfortunate timing with the Lakers.
Because they're one of the teams, right, where the win total can still be decided.
That's right. Yep. With the win total. Isn't that something? We only got 4 games left. And the Lakers have to win out to go over their win total, and the Miami Heat have to win out to go over their win total. Mm-hmm. Everything else has been decided. It's 16 teams have gone under. Excuse me. Yeah, 16 and then 15, and then 13 have gone over. So only 2 left here. And then with LeBron with the illness, unfortunate timing there. He's questionable, and Anthony Davis is questionable as they take on the Warriors.
Yep, the eye was a problem for Anthony Davis the other night in the game. Lakers bumped up to 2.5, though. They opened up at 2. Now it's 2 in the hook. 1.5 up on the Warriors for the 10 seed. They are half a game back of the Kings for the 8. They close with this game tonight, then at Memphis and at the Pelicans. The Warriors have this game, then at Portland, the Pelicans, and the Jazz at home.
Lakers might be in a situation where it could be back-to-back games against the Pelicans. Who knows? But it's still there for them.
It is.
I mean, it was the timing and what happened Sunday against Minnesota, but they can still win out and then get some help and maybe worst case get the 8. And if they're lucky, get the 7 because of the Pelicans schedule and also the Kings schedule. Right. Golden State, 1-10 against the top 3 teams in the West. So even if they're able to get the 9 or the 10 and then win a game, it still doesn't look good for Golden State. But you've talked about this many times. Golden State better on the road than at home.
They are.
And they were lousy historically bad on the road last year, and it's flipped this year. So no opinion, but you got to see who plays.
I do think there's a chance that one of these teams, probably the Lakers, will not be in the 9-10 game. The Kings' schedule tonight, they're at the Thunder. This opened up 3.5, moved up to 5.5 point favorites for the OKC side. Kings close after tonight. Pelicans, Phoenix, Portland. They could. No, they get those 3 games at home.
Yep.
But they could also lose their next 3 games going into the Portland game, the season finale for them.
Yeah. BPI, ESPN, to finish top 6. New Orleans 46%, Phoenix 42%, SAC 6%. And to make the playoffs, Golden State 30%, New Orleans 86%, that's high. Phoenix 85%, SAC 54%, Lakers 43%. 2 games I like tonight. They bet Heat money line, that's up to 3.5. Maneuvering here, try to get the 6 or the 7. Now, Atlanta has a winning record without Trae Young. They also were dead last in defense with Trae Young. They're 21st since he went out. But I will trust Miami here on the road to get the win and keep it going. And then, fighting out with Philadelphia there. And I don't understand why there's a mystery here. The Suns opened 3. They're up. No Kawhi Leonard. Why did people think he was going to play?
I don't know.
It's up to 7. I mean, that's right. So the Suns sitting there at the 6 in the standings, tied with the Pelicans, but a tough loss Sunday. I think the Suns respond, and the Clippers pretty much have it wrapped up and know they're going to get the 4 seed. I don't understand why people thought Kawhi Leonard was going to play.
Yeah. So what's the angle here? Thinking that Kawhi's going to come back in their next game when they get Phoenix at home, win that, and then take care of the division, and then sit everybody for the last couple of games?
Yeah. I think there's a Utah in there. I think
there
they
is.
play Utah
Jazz
at home,
and Rockets,
right.
yep.
Yeah. I didn't understand why that was so low. So
Suns,
Phoenix has to have this.
Suns are currently the 6. They have the same exact record as the Pelicans, who are the 7. So again, they need as many games here as possible to avoid playing in the play-in game.
But a tough way to close. Suns have a tough schedule to close.
Well, Pelicans as well.
Who knows? Right, and who knows what Minnesota's playing for on that final day of the season.
Right.
That's where Phoenix goes.
Yeah, Pelicans, for the record, they close at Portland, at the Kings, at the Warriors, and then the Lakers at home. So that isn't exactly chop liver that we're talking about either. Let's follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Paul's going to run down more of the betting action from last night and win some, lose some, coming up next.
Last night? Wow, winning. Or was it a rough one?
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
Loser! You're a loser! Pauly Howard recaps the night in sports betting in Win Some, Lose Some.
All right, good call by Bruce Marshall. Easy under. It opened 148 in some spots and closed 143.
Huge move.
That's right. Yep. And second half unders, 6-0 in Phoenix. The 2 times they've had the Final 4 games. Mets plus 195 beat the Braves, and the Nats plus 190.
That was against Blake Snell.
Had nothing.
No. 3 innings, I believe.
No, yes. Subscribe, be part of the team, VSiN.com, our radio and podcast friends. You always want to see these tweets and videos. This is how you do it. On X, Green Valley Ranch in Henderson. Guys in the high limit playing Ultimate X. 10 play, $100 a push. Gets dealt 4 to the Royal. One of them is 12 times. That's the one he gets the Royale with cheese. That is $48,000 on one of them. Imagine if it was dealt. But it's something, I mean, I'd rather be lucky.
On the 12-timer.
Right. There's multipliers all over the place, but the only one, 4, everyone's 4, but the one in there, in the middle there, it's 12. And that's the one he gets the Royal.
How about this? I've been dealt 4 to the Royal, 10 play, twice last 2 weeks.
Offers?
Offer.
Come on.
0 for 20.
I know. It's the worst feeling. You got to do the Christmas arrow. You say a Hail Mary, like Fredo.
He might be onto something there.
He'll put his head down,
walk away.
He says he prays a little one. He did that at Circa 2 weeks ago. He got one of them.
All right, I'll take his advice next time it happens.
You're just praying to get one.
That's all. That's all.
But if you don't, that is the horrible feeling if you go over. How about if you can't even get a flush? You want to break some.
I know.
Good for that guy. But that's also well done on social media. They put up what he was playing, the bet size, and how much he won. Excellent.
Oh, that's your big boy.
How about the Eclipse? Let's go to Progressive Field. A piece of cake, just like a regular Monday there. Look at that. All right, light out, dark, back out light. No problem. Like looking at cleavage. Don't stare at it. Get a glimpse, look away. Okay. Get a feel for it.
I'm going to guess you were not outside yesterday taking a peek.
No. I saw you. You were out there, right?
I had a pair of the glasses, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It was wild, man.
Yeah.
It was pretty fascinating, I got to be honest. You live once.
Yep.
You don't see something like this very often, obviously. And to catch it. Now, Las Vegas was not one of these cities down south or further south, like in Dallas. The video from Mazatlan, Mexico was absolutely bonkers.
Yes.
We got an email from a gentleman in Canada. Said
that was good.
He said it dropped 15 degrees in 5 minutes. It completely disappeared. So that was pretty cool yesterday, I have to admit.
Yep. This is cool. Although this is, might need a diaper. The lioness, you're on a safari and all of a sudden this guy jumps in. Hey, I just want some love. Can I get a hug? The guy comes up. He just jumps in. Everyone's taking pictures. And is this part of the tour? Wow. Did I pay for this? You're out there just going around and looking at animals, and then here comes a big fella just jumping right in. I wouldn't know what. You chill the champagne or go in my pants. I mean, I don't know what you do there. He comes right in, and he's just friendly, and he just wants some love.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Wants to snuggle a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, you see some of these videos, they're all over where the elephant decides to charge you. And that, it's like Jurassic Park. Does this thing go any faster? I mean, come on. The T-Rex is gaining on us here.
What about if this, you said it's a lioness?
Yeah.
What about if it changes his mind here? I'm super happy. All of a sudden, no, I'm not. Okay.
Don't want to think about it.
6 people are dead.
Yeah, no, hey, lose some. White Sox and Marlins lose again. I'm telling you. Now, the A's are still atrocious, but they're good when Blackburn goes. But the White Sox are 1-9, and the Marlins are 1-10, and both were shut out again. Wow.
And Luzardo got roughed up big time for Miami. He's their ace. Now, I get it, it's the Yankees, but not a good showing yesterday or to start this season. We are talking about all-time territory here, by the way, with some of these offenses. The White Sox is one of them, with how their runs scored so far at this point of the year.
Yeah.
Really, really, really bad.
Oh, yeah. This offense. Oh, my. It could be all-time bad. You get shut out 4 times already? Bad beats. Cubs. They led 8-0 against the Padres and lost. And the total in the Yankees-Marlins game was 8. It was 7-0 in the 5th inning. That was the final score. Oof. How does that happen? Get ready to tee off with a special Masters edition of Long Shots today at 11 p.m. Eastern. Matt Brown, Wes Reynolds, Kelly Bidlin. Wes is on the show tomorrow. Break down the field, analyze the best bets. Look for Long Shots. Today, 11 p.m. Get an edge, and you'll cash some tickets listening to Wes. Exclusive Masters coverage. VSiN.com/Masters. What would you do here? And I'll ask the audience and you. You have $20 to spend at Augusta. The pimento cheese is $1.50. The club's $3. The ham and cheese on rye is $3. The classic chicken sandwich is $3. A chicken biscuit is $2. A breakfast sandwich is $3. Your drinks are $2. Cookies $1.50. Chips $1.50. How would you play it?
Well, okay.
I mean, it's a great A+ for the menu and also the prices. I mean,
the prices are A+.
Oh, come on.
Hold on. Why is it an A+ overall? What on the menu sticks out to you with the food? What do you?
I don't think you can go wrong when you get there early and start your day with the chicken biscuit or the breakfast sandwich, and then later in the day I can just get something. You know how fast and easy that is? I just get the club or a chicken sandwich, ham and cheese on rye. I'm stuffed. I'm good. It's less than $10.
Yeah, I would try one of those for sure. The pimento cheese, not a prayer.
No, I wouldn't.
There's no chance
risky.
I would touch that.
I know.
I wouldn't trust their pork barbecue either.
Yeah, it doesn't. The pimento cheese doesn't look good.
But certainly, you could always go to war with the Masters Club. I'm guessing that's going to be really tasty.
Absolutely.
The ham and cheese on rye or the classic chicken. And those are only $3. That, to me, is like the best part of the whole thing. You can go there, and the prices are still that reasonable. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. Other sporting events should take this into consideration, like the owner of the Atlanta Falcons did.
Right. You're not in for $50 if you just,
Yeah, you're not charging $22 for a beer.
Yes.
Let's get real here. So
Yep.
this is really cool that the Masters have done this now.
Yeah.
Forever.
Did you see the note yesterday at Augusta where it said, what was his name? Was it Gary or something? I think I said it in. Hey, call your wife. was on up on the leaderboard. It's like, hey, call your wife called. You can't send the guy a text. I mean,
No, I didn't see it.
That was hilarious.
Oh, what did he say? They put on the scoreboard?
Yeah, it's like they're trying to, I don't know if they're having problems tracking the guy down, but it said up on the leaderboard where they're getting ready for the tournament, it said, hey, your wife called. Return the phone call. What? How old school are these guys? Congratulations, by the way.
It better be an emergency.
No kidding.
If there's somebody out there playing Augusta and the wife is trying to get a hold of him knowing he's out there and it's not an emergency, then you need to reconsider things here, pal.
Yeah. Congratulations to Scott Tribuco. He's been on the show before, and he always talks about how great this is with what Circa and Derek Stevens have done, and DraftKings has it, and other spots with the future parlays. Mm-hmm. And he hit a big ticket yesterday. Remember when Matsuyama came out of nowhere and won? I think it was the Genesis.
The Genesis it was, yeah.
This is what he does. Remember, he talks about this and he puts it in, and he says he always want to close with that favorite. You always want to close, but he had Matsuyama with a UFC fighter, with UConn, South Carolina women, $100 paid over $200,000, and he put a $5 ticket in for the writers. So the writers whacked up like $12,000. Incredible. And he does this all the time where he comes in and here's a ticket for you. Here's a $5 ticket for you and the writers. And he hit a big one. And he loves to do stuff like this. But when he was in studio, we talked about, I'm betting everything Milwaukee no to win the East. I'll take some Denver to win the West. And then I'll put some golfers in there and NASCAR guys and whatever. And that's how you do it.
It's time to have him back in studio again sometime.
Yeah.
To look at that.
To explain it and what he does and how you want to cap it off at the end.
Now, how about this? Jeff Goodman, college basketball reporter, he was on site in Phoenix all week for the Final Four. Mm-hmm. He tweeted out yesterday that he asked 4 SEC head coaches to anonymously rank the following 6 Kentucky candidates. Quote, who do you fear the most? Number 1, Scott Drew. Number 2, Bruce Pearl. 3rd was Nate Oates. 4 was Billy Donovan. 5 was Sean Miller. 6 was Chris Beard. How did they have it wrong with Chris Beard that low and specifically behind Sean Miller?
I think it's intentional. I think they did it in reverse. Like you're telling it's not who you fear. Like that's who. Oh my God, I can't imagine if Chris Beard comes to Kentucky, what that'll be like. It's like who you don't want to see.
That's exactly the guy that you don't want to see.
Yeah. So they're knowing this is possible. Anyway. Yeah. If you look at this and
now Oates turned it down.
Yep.
On Twitter anyway. These guys can always change their mind. Hurley indicated last night not going to go anywhere. Scott Drew still hanging around even money. And when we had John Clay on from the Lexington Herald Leader yesterday, Scott Drew was 4-1 after he was done talking, and he said that Drew should be the favorite. He moved to even money. Billy Donovan 6-1. They're not. If they hire Richard Pitino, shut the program down. He's 10-1. Mark Pope 10-1. Does that do anything for you at Kentucky?
No.
You got to get real. I get it. He played there. I watched him play a zillion games under Pitino. Pitino might have influence. There are some guys on the list that will not move the needle at all if they go to Kentucky.
Drew's done an incredible job building Baylor, but like people pointing out, but a lot of coaches have early exits, so you can't kill them for that.
Matt Youmans on the program coming up next. He has an NFL draft bet that he likes, and also who he's on for the Masters at this point.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Action-packed fight card, UFC 300, DraftKings Sportsbook, official sports betting partner of the UFC, giving new customers a shot. Turn $5 into $150 instantly in bonus bets. Any UFC 300 bet. Download the app, promo code VSiN when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook, the crown is yours.
Back to what you were saying about the message on the scoreboard at Augusta. No cell phones allowed.
Okay, thank you.
That would be a major factor.
There you go.
Matt Youmans joins the program now. His show is called VSiN Tonight. It's 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific time. He's also the president of the Dan Hurley fan club, and he joins us here on the Progressive Guest Line. This run is remarkable, Matt. I don't think we've never seen anything like this going back 2 years with one program. This dominant run, we probably won't see anything like it again. Did you take advantage of it? Did you notice that UConn may have been the play early on in this tournament?
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily early on in the tournament. A lot of people expected UConn to roll through the tournament for the most part, but I would say that, going into the Final Four, I didn't think UConn was going to lose it. I was hoping somebody could give UConn a game, Alabama or Purdue, and I expected one of those teams, if not both, to give UConn a game. I think Bama did a good job of it for 35 minutes. Purdue did it for about 30 minutes, but it's, last night, what the difference was the UConn guards were bigger, and I thought this was the biggest concern for Purdue going into the game. Purdue's got smaller guards. UConn goes 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", and those guards were just physically dominant against the Purdue guards last night. And Dan Hurley had a great game plan, and his players executed it really, really well. The way the guards attacked the paint against the Purdue defense, and the way they chased the Purdue shooters off the three-point line. And Matt Painter never made the adjustments. Two things. Dan Hurley actually ran a coaching clinic last night and dominated Painter, and the UConn guards were physically dominant. I wouldn't say I'm the president of the Dan Hurley fan club. I do admire a lot of things about the way this guy coaches right now. He's the top coach in college basketball right now. And I just wish he would not be so much of a crybaby. I mean, how many times did he run onto the floor during the game last night and constantly complain about every call, and the officials don't do anything to rein the guy in? I would like to see him tone that down a little bit. I think Bill Raftery or somebody made that comment last night too, but you got to give the guy a ton of credit for what he's done here the last 2 years. And if you think about it, you lose Adama Sanogo, the most outstanding player, a horse in the low post, Jordan Hawkins, a first-round pick as a guard, and Andre Jackson, your best defensive guard, and you come back and you have a team that's basically just as good this season. Man, it's going to be tough to control UConn, and he's right when he said it. I know some people think he sounds like an a-hole, but UConn has dominated college basketball for the last 25 years with 6 championships, and nobody else is even close. I did bet UConn pretty big on the money line last night. It's interesting, too, how Ken Pomeroy's numbers, the Ken Pom numbers, set the betting market for most of the season. And Ken Pom had that a 3-point game last night. The number goes off at 7, and didn't really have to sweat it if you laid the points with UConn pulling away in the second half last night. So, I can't blame any numbers-oriented guys for taking a 7 because that looked like it was inflated. But it was a dead under most of the way, and the biggest difference is the UConn guards just physically dominated the Purdue guards. If somebody had told you before the game, Zach Edey is going to have 37 points, and UConn big men Donovan Clingan and Samson Johnson would combine for 15 points and 9 fouls, how much would you have bet on Purdue?
Great point. Absolutely. And it's astonishing that they made one 3-pointer, as you mentioned. I mean, you don't imagine having future tickets, and you haven't had to sweat any of these games the last 2 years as they're burying everybody. What do you think happens at Kentucky? Who gets the job, or who should they hire?
Well, I think Chris Beard's who they should hire. And I'll defer to Mitch on this one, too, because he knows the Kentucky situation so well. But I thought Ohio State should have hired Chris Beard. Indiana should have hired him. Somebody's got to hire Chris Beard. I would rank him the next best coach in college hoops to Dan Hurley. And I know his stock's dropped a little bit in the last 2 years, but the guy is still a genius, basketball genius, and he can recruit like crazy. I don't know if Beard's going to leave Ole Miss, but if I were Kentucky, that'd be my top target. You also have to go after Nate Oates at Alabama. I think the guy who's probably going to get the job, if I had to put odds on it right now, would be Scott Drew at Baylor. Mitch, what do you think?
Well, Beard, certainly. We talked about that a little bit earlier this hour. Beard jumps off the page to me. I think it would be a home run hire. As a basketball coach, he's phenomenal. We had a guest on yesterday who's covered Kentucky basketball for many, many, many years, and he made Scott Drew the favorite. So I would tend to trust what he had to say. It was John Clay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Scott Drew's a good fit for that situation. Beard would be my top target. I would think that Scott Drew is probably the favorite to get the job.
Yeah. What have you done? We're talking to Matt Youmans here. He's on the Progressive Guest Line. He hosts VSiN tonight, weeknights at 11 p.m. here on VSiN. What have you done with the NFL draft props that are now available, be coming out? They are coming out more and more by the day / the week. Have you put any more thought or any money on the quarterback props in the first round?
Yes. In fact, Chuck Esposito at Red Rock Sportsbook's done a really good job putting up a bunch of props. No other Vegas bookmakers put up any, as far as I can tell. I don't know if you guys have seen any. DraftKings has some up. But Chuck put up 4.5 quarterbacks in the first round. And initially the over was plus money. I didn't get to that right away. I did lay 240 over 4.5 quarterbacks in the first round. I just read a mock draft yesterday from Pro Football Focus, and they got 6 quarterbacks going in the top 15 picks. We know there are going to be 4. So you need one more to get over that 4.5. And I actually think the current price of station books is minus $3 over 4.5. I think that's a really good bet. Michael Penix is going to go in the first round, maybe Bo Nix too. I know that sounds like a square opinion to some who like to bet, who think the quarterbacks are overrated. But there's so many teams who are quarterback desperate that I think there's a great chance you're going to get 5, if not 6 in the first round. So go ahead and play over that 4.5. I think that price is only going to keep going up too as we get closer to the draft. Also, Chuck's got up 6.5 for wide receivers in the first round. And I think the over price on that's around minus 180 or something. Or it might be closer to pick 'em. Anyway, I think 6 is the right number for wide receivers in the first round if you see that prop up there. But I'm starting to do a lot more work on the draft right now.
There's a ton of props up at William Hill and Caesars locally, by the way, Matt. Okay. Follow the money, Pauly and Mitch, VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Matt Youmans, our guest on the Progressive Guest Line. All right, take it away. Masters, what'd you play? Tell us who you like to win it, top 10s, everything you've done.
Yeah, not to sound like Indy Jeff Seeley here, but Brooks Koepka is one player I like. With Scotty Scheffler right around 9-2 odds or 5-1. You got to look a little bit further down the board and see if you can find some value with some of these guys who could beat Scheffler. And if you go back to last year, Koepka was the 54-hole leader. He ended up finishing second. He's a 5-time major champ. He's just a big game player, and he knows Augusta. And at 22-1, that circuit right now, I think Koepka is actually a pretty good bet. And I'm going to play him. Even though his current form is not great, he can flip the switch and turn it on when he shows up at Augusta this week. So I'm probably going to play Koepka as a top 10 finisher too. One guy who really intrigues me, I'll tell you the futures bets I got right now. Koepka 22-1, Jordan Spieth at 25, and Tony Finau at 55. I also bet Wyndham Clark at 125-1 last fall, but that number is nowhere near available now. And I don't think Wyndham Clark's going to win because he's a debutante. First time guys at Augusta really don't play well, but that was a great number. Cam Smith is an intriguing guy to me. He's got 3 top 5 finishes at Augusta and 6 starts. His current form is pretty poor, but I'm going to look at him plus 125 in a matchup against Ludwig Åberg. And, Spieth is another guy. Spieth knows Augusta like his backyard. He's a guy, when you watch him, he can drive you crazy because it's such a roller coaster ride when you bet him. But aside from his win 10 years ago at Augusta, he's got 2 seconds, 6 top 5s, 6 top 5 finishes and 10 starts at Augusta, and a tie for 4th last year. So even though his current form's not good, I think you can kind of throw that out the window. So those are some of the players I'm looking at. Matt Fitzpatrick, I think, may be a bit of a sleeper this week as well. The more numbers I look at here, I'm expecting him to play well. Scheffler, minus 170 in a matchup over Rory might be a way you can play Scotty if you don't want to play him to win at those odds. I will mention that, Joaquin Niemann's been getting a ton of play from a lot of people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he seems to be the trendy pick right now, but I'm not going to play him. I'll tell you why. He's got 0 top 10 finishes and 19 major starts. So he's got to contend in something before I can bet him. So I'm not going to play him, not going to play Patrick Cantlay this week either. Cantlay's only got 4 top 25s and 27 majors.
Oh, good stuff. There you go. Matt Youmans joined us here on the Progressive Guest Line. His show is called VSiN Tonight, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. out here on the West Coast. Matt, thank you for the time. Good luck this week.
Okay, you bet. Thanks.
Thank you.
Up next, based on last night's results, it's safe to say this will never happen again. It's Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.